am Irene Bacall, President of Columbia Club NorCal. Co-hosting with me today is Xiaokai Fan, who serves as treasurer on CAA Singapore's board.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today's cooking competition. This is the opening launch of a series of virtual cooking classes that CAA will be organizing across various clubs, including Mexico, India, Brooklyn, and the Asian Columbia Alumni Association in New York.
On behalf of all of the CAA chapters participating in this event, we would like to extend you a warm welcome and wish you happy holidays. Check out this 2-minute video from our various chapters. Happy holidays from San Francisco.
Happy holidays from Courtney and Emily at Columbia SoCal.
Happy holidays and happy cooking. See you soon.
Happy holidays and happy cooking from CAA Singapore.
Hi,
Merry Christmas.
Season's greetings from Brooklyn.
Saya mengucapkan Anda selamat bercuti dan selamat memasak dari Singapura.
Season's greetings from Hong Kong. Springtime Bible. And down. Happy holidays from CAA Vietnam. Chúc mừng năm.
Season's greetings from London. This is Yi Ting, the president of ACA. Wish the entire ACA family a safe and healthy holiday season.
Hello everyone, this is Yang from ACA and from New Jersey. Want to wish everyone a very healthy and safe holiday season. Best wishes for 2021.
Best wishes from ACA.
We hope you enjoyed the holiday greetings from various chapters in Asia and the US. Do stick around at the end of the event of the program if you would like to socialize with alums in Asia and California. Use this link to join our after party chat group, and we will be posting it again at the end of the session. So now I would like to introduce to you the line chefs who will be battling out 2 rounds of the competition. For round 1, we have Alex Hsu from CAA Taiwan, a professional chef trained at Le Cordon Bleu, and Dan Lee, a talented home cook from CAA NorCal. Alex and Dan will be making their versions of beef Wellington. Alex and Dan, do you have anything you would like to say to each other before we begin?
Hi, first of all, happy holidays. Here in Taiwan, we're under control and have a few people gather in our house. Dan and I have known each other for a long time. So being a professional myself, I just want to know, like, Dan, if you have any questions for me before we start this competition, since I know that you've never made beef Wellington before, accepting my challenge.
Hey, that's very funny, Alex. You know, there's a saying in Taiwan, the ginger gets spicier as it gets older. I'm not a pro, but I've definitely brought my A game.
For round 2, we have Mark Clemente from Singapore, known for delivering private dining experiences with an Asian flair, as well as Sayaka Mikawa, the lead home chef from Singapore's Club Cooking Co-op, who will be both cooking against Christian Loredo from NorCal, who with his years of cooking experience has chosen to stay true to his Argentinian roots. Mark, Sayaka, and Christian will be using 2 versions of pastry to make dishes that highlight their cultural heritage, Asian curry puffs, and Argentinian empanadas. Mark and Sayaka and Christian, do you have something you would like to say to each other before we start?
Hey, Christian, how are you doing? Happy holidays, everyone. You know, I was the captain of the Columbia varsity tennis team, so whatever it is, just throw it right back at me. I'm going to throw it right back at you.
Well, Mark, my good man, I don't really understand what tennis has to do with cooking anyway, except I get hungry after I play. So, but now I heard you had to bring in a ringer over there to level the playing field. Tell me, this is certainly not a level playing field. 2 against 1. Is this how you play tennis?
That's right, Christian. We're playing doubles and you're about to get served. There's a reason why Taiwan and Singapore won Best International Clubs. We played to win and we're world champions.
I like it. Okay, Mark and Sayako. Just an FYI, NorCal also won the Best Club Award for domestic clubs. So let's use this cook-off to see which region is truly the world's best.
Okay, chefs, enough bashing. And to all of you, our audience, you have an important role because we will be asking you to vote for the winner of each round based on 5 criteria as shown on the screen: chef's technique, creativity, explanation, use of secret ingredients, and of course, plating of their holiday dishes. We will have a short question and answer session at the end of each round before we ask the audience to vote. So now let's the competition begin. You will start with round 1, and after we watch the 4-minute video on how to prep the beef Wellington, Xiaokai will be moderating the live segment of beef Wellington.
These are the key ingredients that I started with. As you can see, there's Parma ham, mushrooms, puff pastry, and of course, the tenderloin. Because I'm not a professional chef, I figure I won't be able to win based on technique, so I'm gonna try to win by using the best ingredients. This is USDA prime grade tenderloin, the highest grade tenderloin that is produced locally in America. What I decided to do was to dry age the tenderloin in my fridge for a 5-day period at 37 degrees Fahrenheit. As you can see, after 5 days, the color of the tenderloin changes from bright red to dark red.
In other parts of the world, they usually come whole and untrimmed. But don't let this stop you. It's easy to trim it yourself. For our beef Wellington, we're only using the middle portion, also called the Chateaubriand, where the thickness is most uniform. First, pull off the chain and cut off the head and tail. Remove the outer silver skin. Do the same for the head, tail, and the chain to make filet mignon and medallions. You should end up with about 2 pounds of Chateaubriand. I like to tie my Chateaubriand to make sure the meat cooks more evenly. Then season generously with coarse salt and freshly ground pepper. In a very hot pan, add some oil. Sear the tenderloin for about 1.5 minutes per side, for a total no more than 4 to 5 minutes. Don't forget to sear both ends too. While the tenderloin is still hot, brush a lot of mustard or horseradish all over it. That's it, you're done. Next, doucet, or the mushroom bits. You need 1.5 to 2 pounds of mushroom. Here we use mostly button mushrooms plus some fresh shiitake mushroom. Don't worry, most types of mushroom will work. Next, take your chef's knife and chop them into tiny bits. Make sure you sharpen your knife first. This is going to take a while. Or you can just dump them into a food processor and pulse a few times. Just make sure you don't over-process them or they'll turn into mush. Also mince about 4 ounces of shallots and a handful of garlic. Put the mushroom, shallots, and garlic into a cold frying pan. Add copious amount of olive oil and heat over medium-low heat. Stir occasionally. Mushroom will quickly start to release water. The idea is to be patient and cook till the mushroom is really dry. It takes a while. My batch here took about 40 minutes. Finally, add some thyme or other herbs. Season with salt and pepper. Put aside to cool down. The finished product is about half of the original weight and a small fraction by volume. Finally, the puff pastry. Simple. Just drive to your local Safeway and take your pick. Done. Or you can make your own like I do if you have 3 to 5 hours to spare. Seriously, start with 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Add about 1 teaspoon of salt. Mix well. Add about 3/4 cup of cold water. Stir and mix till you form a solid, messy-looking dough. Roll it into 7x7 square. Then take about 9 ounces of butter. Cut into pieces. Pound and fold a few times till pliable. Roll into a 4x4 square. Chill the dough and the butter in the fridge for 30 to 60 minutes. Then roll out 4 sides of the dough. Put the butter square in the center. Close into a pocket and seal tight. Then roll it out into a 12 by 6 rectangle. Fold into 1/3. Repeat again. Wrap with plastic bag and put in the fridge for another 30 to 60 minutes. Do this 2 more times for a total of 6 folds. Voila! You now have your own puff pastry dough. Seared tenderloin, doucet, and puff pastry all ready to go. Let's get started.
All right. Now that we've seen how Alex and Dan have prepped their beef Wellingtons, we are entering one of the most exciting stages, wrapping the tenderloin into multiple layers of doucelle, prosciutto, and puff pastry. Let's watch Alex and Dan wrap their tenderloin live for the audience.
Thank you. And so as you can see, sorry, adjusting camera here. As you can see that I have a plastic film and then some crepes over here. I'm just gonna brush it with egg wash.
Alex, why crepes? The last time I checked, that was definitely not in Gordon Ramsay's recipe.
You're absolutely right. And this is the first of my several secret weapons. Crepe acts as a kind of a sponge, so that when the meat cooks, it releases juices, and the crepe is there to absorb it, to keep the meat moist, and also the puff pastry flaky. So this is going to do the trick.
Ah, I see. And Dan, I understand you used a secret ingredient in your doucelle?
Yes, absolutely. Because it is the holidays, in addition to using sweet onions and mushrooms, I decided to add chestnuts to my doucelles. Here
Wow.
it is. Mmm, yummy.
Definitely tastes like the holidays. All right, now we are ready to roll, pun definitely intended. Alex, what is the secret to a good roll?
Well, a secret to a good roll is to make sure you apply egg wash in between different layers, because egg wash is kind of like a glue. Without it, like the different layers will fall apart. And secondly is to make sure everything is even. As you can see, I have now layered 6 pieces of prosciutto over my crepes, right? Okay, and here's my secret weapon number 2. Can you see this? Is that I pre-rolled my duxelle over 2 pieces of parchment paper. This way, I just flip it. Okay, this is going to be tricky. I hope this works. Last time it didn't. Flip it. Voila! No spreading necessary. And in my duxelle, I also added some cream to make it bound together better. Okay, and lastly is my tenderloin. As you can see, I pre-tied it, and after searing it, applied a lot of mustard over it. And the trick is to keep it overnight in the fridge so that the mustard dries. If you have a wet and soggy mustard and beef, that's not going to work.
Wow. Definitely can see the gourmet training technique. Le cordon bleu is definitely worthwhile, it looks like. So Dan, what is your secret to a good roll?
Well, I'm just making this baby round and tight. Remember, obviously, the tighter the better. I do want to explain that because my beef was dry aged, there's less moisture in the tenderloin. So I kind of feel like I don't need that additional layer of crepes. And we will see. We'll see what happens when I cut into it later.
Okay, looking forward. So now that the chefs have made their initial wraps, the wraps need to be refrigerated for around 15 minutes. So we'll cross now over to round 2 of the competition. We'll first be showing how Mark and Sayaka in Singapore make their authentic curry puffs. And heads up, my wife is Sayaka, so I'll try to be professional and unbiased, but I can't guarantee anything. Let's take a look at the video.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hi, I'm Sayaka, and we're from the Columbia Alumni Association of Singapore.
Today we'll be making a traditional Southeast Asian dish called curry puff. It's a great holiday snack.
Singapore is a fantastic blend of the modern and traditional. One of my favorite things about this city is the abundance of wet markets in nearly every neighborhood. We definitely didn't have these in New York.
The locals know that the freshest produce can be found at the market.
They're usually open early in the morning and close by noon, so I've gone ahead and did some shopping for us.
Today we'll be making two versions. The first is filled with curried chicken and potatoes in a classic crust, a popular fixture at any hawker center. The second is our take on another iconic Singapore dish, the world-famous chili crab. We turn the dish into a filling and added another special touch, the spiral crab.
Are you hungry yet? Let's get started. First, we're going to make the curry filling. We start by chopping the vegetables and chicken. Give everything a quick stir fry. Add water, seasoning, and the secret ingredient, instant coffee. The smoky roasted flavor complements the spices, giving depth and complexity to your curry. Simmer until dry and set aside to cool. Now on to the chili crab. Prep the chili, ginger, shallots, garlic, and lemongrass to be ground. Add a squeeze of lime and grind in a mortar and pestle. Or if you're lazy like us, go ahead and cheat by giving it a few quick pulses in the food processor and put it back in the mortar for pretty pictures. Sweat the onions until they're very soft and set aside. Give the chili mix a quick saute until very fragrant. Add the tomato, ketchup, and other seasoning. Add the crab meat. Drop the egg in. And then you're done. While we're waiting for things to cool, let me give you a little history about the curry puff.
The curry puff reflects the different layers of cultural influence that make up Singapore. Like the city itself, the pastry is a mix of European, Indian, Malay, and Chinese culinary traditions. There are a few theories behind the origins of the curry puff. One is that the Portuguese, who arrived in the region in the 1500s, brought the empanada with them, which evolved into an early version of the curry puff. The second, more likely theory is that the British, who settled Singapore in the 1800s, brought traditional Cornish pasties to the region. Somewhere in the mix, a local chef combined the pasty with the flavors of India to create the modern curry puff. The evolution of the curry puff mirrors the evolution of Singapore itself, which blends influences from all over the world to create a melting pot of different cultures. Walking into any hawker center in Singapore, you can see this melting pot on display, as stalls just a few feet apart from each other serve food that come from regions thousands of miles away. When we munch on our favorite curry puff, we are tasting a legacy of the Portuguese-British influence in the Malay Peninsula for over half a millennia.
Now back to our puffs. The short crust dough and the watered dough for the spiral puff pretty much start the same way. Combine the dry ingredients Then add the butter and the shortening for the short crust version. Then gently rub with your fingers until the mixture resembles fine breadcrumbs. Then add the wet ingredients and mix just long enough till you get a fairly smooth dough. And into the fridge. Make this spiral puff oil dough too by mixing the flour and the shortening. Encase the oil dough into the water dough. Flatten, then roll into a Swiss roll. Chill it, and then repeat. So this spiral dough is really neat. A little effort was so worth it to get the golden flaky pastry that looks like a seashell when it's fried. It uses a laminated dough, which is a process of repeatedly folding fat into dough to create thin alternating layers. The result is a pastry with flaky, airy layers, like a croissant. The difference between Asian and Western puff pastries lies in the fat layer of the pastry. In Western baking, pure fat, usually in the form of butter, is folded in. As for the Asian version, the fat is combined with some flour, resulting in a significant difference in texture and taste. The water dough is equivalent to the dough part of the Western puff pastry, and the oil dough is equivalent to the butter that separates the dough between the layers. Now we're ready for the fun part, the fold. My neighborhood curry puff spot happens to be a Michelin Bib Gourmand winning stall, a family-run business with humble beginnings as a pushcart vendor. The uncle was kind enough to teach me how to fold curry puffs, so now let me share with you what he taught me. First, roll out the dough into a slightly oval shape and add the filling. Fold in half and firmly press down on the edges to close. It is important not to trap in any air, and the edges are tightly sealed. Now for the crimping. Start by tucking in the corner. Then continue on folding. Gently turn the puff while you crimp, and the more folds, the better. Yay, we're done folding and ready to fry. Thanks for watching.
Happy holidays.
Keep calm.
And cook on.
What a video. I mean, packed with history and all this information about how to make the perfect curry puff. But what I think really made the video was the male narrator's voice. I mean, it felt like rugged and kind of like almost like very masculine. I think that guy should probably be in movies. So it's clear that the Singapore team went over the top for this competition as usual. I mean, did you see the chef Rory wearing a homemade costume? That was pretty cool, right? I think this video should probably be shared with the Singapore Tourism Board because I mean, what else is there in Singapore but this to draw people in? So let's talk about teamwork. I think besides Mark and Sayaka, we had BX, Junie, who's actually behind the scenes running the Zoom event right now, Jen and myself working in the background. I ate a lot of those curry puffs. I think in a 2-week span, I probably had a dozen. So they were delicious. I can vouch for that. Roar, Asia, roar. Wait, all right, don't leave yet, sorry. We still have to watch Christian of CAA NorCal make his empanadas. So let's see what California has in store for us, and let's watch the video now.
Hey, Chef Christian here. Not really a chef, but we are going to walk through making some empanadas. So the first step that we're going to do today is actually making the dough. All right, so there's a couple steps for that. One is we're going to take a little bit of lard, traditional in making this recipe. You can also use butter, olive oil, or maybe a mixture of the two, whatever floats your boat. That's half a cup of this lard mixture. Next, we're gonna add 1.5 teaspoons, not tablespoons, salt. And then we are going to add 2 cups of boiling. Ooh, that's boiling. Boiling water. And the first thing we're going to do is dissolve all of this. Add it, slowly stir. What am I doing? I'm right-handed. And let it slowly dissolve. Hopefully that happens. And then we're going to let this cool down to room temperature. 6 cups. Let's see what happens. Anywhere between 4 and 6 will probably do. And once it's incorporated, we're going to put some flour out on the table, and we're going to knead this mixture into some proper dough before we refrigerate it. Ooh. It's already starting to get nice and doughy. So let's see, this is about 2 cups that we've added so far. And this is the consistency. You can see it's going to need a little, well, quite a bit more, but. So we've got the dough starting to form. I'm going to spread a little bit out here so we can get to the kneading part. It's come together, it feels pretty good. Yeah, that's a little bit I'm going to try to add here so we can incorporate all the bits. And now we're just going to knead this dough. The next step is we're going to take this, we're going to put it into a bowl, cover it, and refrigerate it for at least an hour. So here's our finished product for the dough. We've kneaded it, put it into a nice ball. Feels good. And our dough is chilling, it's ready to go. So now we're ready for the next steps. Let me show you some of the ingredients and the order that they go in. This was fun putting this together. So we're gonna start off browning the beef, and we've got about roughly a pound of beef here with salt and pepper seasoned to taste. After that's in there for about 5 minutes, we're gonna add chorizo, and really you need 4 ounces of chorizo. We might add a little bit more. And about a cup of just chopped onions. Chopped garlic, chopped mushrooms, and I'm substituting out mushrooms for potatoes. And then lastly, we've got some chopped thyme and oregano. Okay, give it a pinch of salt, a little pepper, a whole lot of onions, a little chorizo, and the red peppers. Adding them now. Next up, I am going to be adding the chopped thyme and oregano. You can also use marjoram if you'd like. Put those guys in there. And I substituted out the potatoes, and I prefer the chopped mushrooms, more of that binding umami. So let's get those in there. And last but not least, the garlic. Now we're gonna add some of the tomato paste. Let's get that in there. And now is the fun part where we add the cumin and blend these flavors. And now I'm gonna add about 1 cup of broth. I'm using beef broth, vegetable broth works. You could even use water at this point, but I think this will give it a little bit more flavor. Now this is gonna cook for about 10 minutes. We're really gonna incorporate 10 minutes. I'm just scraping up the bottom caramelized bits. Gosh, it really does smell good. And then the last step of preparing the filling is adding the scallions, both the green and white parts. That looks pretty good right there. And we'll fold those in. And we're gonna take this off the heat. And then we're gonna put this in a bowl. We're gonna refrigerate it. And then the final step will be actually preparing the empanadas. Okay, so what I did, and you'll see this in the pro tips in the recipe, I rolled out all the dough, and to make things a little bit easier and less time consuming. You can use something that's 4 or 5 inches diameter. You can use a cookie cutter if you've got it, a bowl, a really wide glass, whatever works. Meanwhile, we're gonna go back over here to our filling, which is just perfect. It really turned out well. Like, I can't even believe I had anything to do with this, but I'm really happy. And my grandmother, I think, will be pretty proud of me right now. Next, we're gonna grab some of those green olives that we pitted and we chopped. That's probably plenty. Lovely. Delicious. And we're gonna put in some eggs. A little bit of the egg, diced eggs. Now we're gonna put it out here on our board. And just to help this bind, I made a little bit of an egg wash. You could use water because of this dough. You could use a combination of the two, actually, and that would be nice. Now this is gonna help keep the glue, which ultimately this acts as, cut. Okay, so here they are. Here are the beautiful little empanadas, straight out of the oven. We made a couple different types. If anybody's interested in a vegetarian variety, send me an email directly and I'll let you know what we can do. All right, so here, this is very traditional. This is a chimichurri, which is basically a dip of a lot of garlic, olive oil, pepper. I mean, my grandmother used to make it with eggplant. Martita's chimichurri was the best. Mwah, Martita. I think this will make her proud. So we're gonna give that a little smear, and let me show you what the insides look like there. Ooh, steaming hot. You can see our mixture from before. The eggs, the olives. The olives give it a beautiful flavor. Oh. I like this. I hope you do too. Happy holidays, and may the best chef win. I know I had fun.
Wow, that was certainly a treat. I love the background music to set the mood and that little jig at the end. Christian, I think you could give Sean Spicer a run for his money and have a second career on Dancing with the Stars. So, question to the audience, was it just me, or could you only see half of Christian's head throughout the video? It looks like Silicon Valley is still having some software issues. All right, so we've seen the videos from both chefs. I have to say, if you want to see the recipes, I think those are ready. We can send them out to you by email after the competition. Before we begin voting for round 2, we want to see if the audience has any questions for Mark, Sayaka, and Christian. We have time for some questions. If you have questions, please type them into the chat. Sayaka, Mark, and Christian, can you share any tips or tricks to making your pastries?
So I've put some tricks and tips and tricks into the recipe cookbook that you're about to get. But there are definitely moments like the instant coffee, which is my secret. I don't know if anyone else uses it, but it's my secret to adding some depth into curry. So I added it to our curry puff curry as well. But also what to do with your leftover chili crab mix, as you can make a great pasta with it.
I don't really have too much to add. I'll be honest with you guys. This was my very first time ever making empanadas. I've eaten them a gazillion times, but first time making them. So my recipe was a little bit more simple, and you saw me making the dough mixture.
It looked delicious. I think everything turned out really well. Maybe a second question. What was the most difficult part of making your respective dishes?
I think learning the spiral dough was actually harder than I thought. It was surprising. It went great the very first time I made it. It was also my first time. And the second time it started to split. So now I've added that to my tips in the recipe, but if you spray the dough in between, it won't separate.
If I can chime in on that part, for me, and I could have learned a lot from watching Sayaka do that video prior to me doing this, it's the crimping of the dough. That's a little tricky. And if you haven't done it before, I think it takes a little bit of practice. So that was where I certainly, I found it challenging. But I also, hold on one moment, I did find this thing, which I didn't use, which is a dough press. This was my idea of working smarter, not harder, but I didn't get a chance to do it.
Yeah, I was lucky. I rocked up to Rolita and I was like, I'm doing a video. Can you show me how to fold? So he was very, very nice. So if anyone's ever in Singapore, I highly recommend that you stop by Rolita, as their curry puffs were amazing.
Awesome.
All right, thank you guys both. And now we are ready to start voting for round 2. We ask you to judge a winner based on 5 criteria: the chef's technique, creativity, explanation, plating, and use of ingredients. So now you have the opportunity to make your choice. I think the voting screen should pop up, and you guys have 15 seconds to vote. There we go. Hopefully no mail-in ballots this time. Everybody should be able to vote immediately and in person.
Can we have the winner send the loser, curry puffs?
As long as the loser is willing to concede gracefully, I think that would be okay.
I wanted to eat your empanadas too. We're very hungry.
All right. Sorry. I think the moment of truth has arrived. I think almost all the votes are in. So with 79% of the vote, I can project that the Asia team, Mark and Sayaka, are the winner of round 2. Congratulations, guys. Through the magic of television, I will be presenting them their award in person. If you give me 1 second. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yay. It's like perfect size for him. Yay.
All right, congratulations to everybody. To Christian, you did a very good job. Those empanadas look delicious. Unfortunately, the voters have spoken, and they've given the victory to the Asia team. So now that Alex and Dan's initial wraps have settled in the fridge, it's back to Irene for the rest of the round 1 competition.
Okay, Alex and Dan, we are back to Beef Wellington.
Yes.
Would you like to show us how you would like to assemble your Beef Wellington?
First of all, Irene, thank you. And I just want to let you know I spent the whole day making this puff pastry because I hadn't made it since culinary school. That was 10 years ago. And there were some fails. So finally, I splurged and got this, can you zoom down? This marble countertop and the marble rolling pin, so I can keep everything cold. As you know, Taiwan has been a little warm lately, okay? So basically, you just want to kind of roll it into like maybe 1/4 inch thick, even sheet. And then you need to apply the all-important egg wash. I'm just going to do this my classical way. I heard through the grapevine that someone got a lattice cutter. That's really a good idea. But you know, you can have that. I've watched those YouTube videos too. We'll see how it turns out.
So you just mentioned about the marble roller and the platform. So it kind of reminds me of the jade rollers. Does anyone ever use those? Does it play a difference? Does it, contours, maybe skincare? Does it relate to like skincare, things like that?
My mom swears by it, and my aunt has 3. So their youthful appearance is testament to their effectiveness.
Youthful appearance of crepe dough. We'll have to see that at the end. See whether a marble roll is worth it. I would say I would have to look up how much that costs. Sounds really heavy.
Thank you. And by the way, here's my sort of previously chilled wrapped tenderloin.
Great.
So Alex, in the spirit of fair competition, I think we should share with the audience why you decided to make your own puff pastry, and I decided to go the other way. So perhaps you can go first.
Oh, I thought it's just because I'm trying to show off my technique. Is there any other?
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that like puff pastry is really the key to the beef Wellington, and the secret is in the butter. If you make your own puff pastry, you pick your own butter, and I picked French butter. European butter has less water, is definitely the way to go. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, so, you know, I'm not old school like you. I just thought that it is important to show that any one of the home cooks like me can make a Wellington that is at least as good as yours without making puff pastry from scratch. All you have to do is pick one up from your local Safeway or bakery.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and which is why this is the first time I've made puff pastry in 10 years.
All right, Alex, what are you focusing on right now?
Well, I'm focusing on just making sure that I have enough egg wash between the puff pastry dough as well as the as the burrito dough, for lack of a better word. That way, everything sticks together, and when you cut through it, you know, you have this even Swiss roll looking slice that nothing falls apart. And then lastly, if Jeremy can help focus on my, can you see the folding? Okay, so basically you want to leave about like an additional 2 inches of dough on either end, right? And then you make sure your presentation side is down. So like the pretty side is down, and you fold it like this, kind of like, you know, kind of like wrapping a present, and you fold it over like this. Okay, and do the same for the other side. Oh, don't forget the egg wash. I forgot that last time, or otherwise they won't stick. And you turn it over. Your beef Wellington. You want to make sure that at this stage you have same evenness all around. This way, the meat can cook more evenly, and you have internal temperature and doneness at around the same time.
Amazing, Alex. That looks like a smooth piece of crepe that's wrapping around a Wellington. And Dan, can you tell the audience what is the biggest challenge at this stage for you?
Yes, absolutely. So at this stage, we need to make sure that this burrito, for lack of a better word, will stick to the puff pastry. So as you can see, you can probably tell from the color, I've already applied egg wash to the, this is actually the inside of the Wellington. And so we're gonna put the burrito on top. And I'm actually gonna wrap it like this. So you can see the, now the inside has this even layer of egg wash. Applied on the inside, and okay, so this is, and now I'm also going to put egg wash on the outside of the burrito, the Wellington.
Thanks, Dan. I could see that it's worth it to purchase the dough from Le Safeway, right?
Yep.
Alex, your Wellington looks beautiful. To be honest, what are you doing right now? What are the techniques that we should take note of?
Since I don't have a lattice cutter, so I'm going to just using kind of the old traditional style. After applying the egg wash, I'm taking very small paring knife and then hold it like this, okay? And then just very casually make some carvings. 你可以 zoom 一下. Okay. And these are not just for decoration; they have functional uses too. Because if you just like a French bread that you have the slashes in the middle, these help the steam escape. That way, you don't have like these huge holes of bubbles rising out of your dough. Okay, so I'm not too creative, and this is a competition live, so I'm just going to do a very simple, boring, straight slash. Okay. And I don't have a lattice cutter. Okay. Lastly, what I'm doing this year is maybe a little bit controversial, but I learned from a French chef that it's actually good to poke like 2-3 holes in the middle, basically act as steam vents for the meat's juice to escape during cooking. Some French chefs even go as far as like putting little chimneys up it like a cone so that the vent doesn't close up. But that's basically it. Usually I will put this chilled in the oven for another 30 minutes or so, and then, I'm sorry, usually I would like put this chilled in the fridge for another 30 minutes or so, and then pop it into the oven. Back to you, Irene.
Wow, did you hear that, Dad? How do you respond to that? By the way, is that a lattice cutter?
Yes, this is my secret weapon, the lattice cutter. I never received formal training, so I know I can't compete on technique, right? And that's why I chose to invest in this very important tool. What this lattice cutter allows me to do is to make a lattice, which looks like this. Oh, if you can see it. I've already applied egg wash to the outside of my Wellington. So now I'm going to put the lattice on just to make it look nice. All right.
Right, so it looks like the both of you are ready to put the Wellington into the oven. So Dan, how long would you bake it and how long should it be in the oven?
Yeah, before that, actually, so I usually would actually put an additional layer of egg wash on top, but this one I'm saving for my brother, so I'm going to wrap it and send it to him tomorrow. But usually after the second layer of egg wash, we would actually put some kosher salt on top to sprinkle it to add some texture to it. But to answer your question, I've preheated my oven to 375 degrees. And the baking process usually takes about half an hour, but it really depends on how well done you want your tenderloin to be. Like for me, I usually shoot for medium rare, which translates into 135 degrees. But what you have to remember is that when you take the Wellington out of the oven, the Wellington needs to rest at room temperature for 20 minutes. It's important because you need the 20 minutes for the juice to stay inside the tenderloin. So when you're cutting into it, the juice is not going to flow over the place. And while the tenderloin is resting during the 20-minute period, its temperature is actually going to continue to cook. So its internal temperature will go up by anywhere between 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you're shooting for 135, you have to remember to take the Wellington out of the oven when the thermometer shows 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
Alex, how would you like to respond to that?
Well, bravo, Dan, because I agree with everything he said. But I guess I may have just one more thing to add. And it's really more a matter of preference that I like my tenderloin more on the rare side because, I enjoy steak tartare, and tenderloin as a part of the beef is usually more lean and doesn't have a lot of connective tissues. So what I've done with mine is that I cooked it at a slightly higher temperature, about like 220 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's around 450, and only for about like 25 minutes, because I like to see a bigger contrast between the meat and the other layers. When you have the tenderloin more on the rare side, it's like almost pinkish red, which is really appealing. Back to you, Irene.
All right, and voila, both chefs have completed. They're explaining how they make their Wellington. Now I understand both Alex and Dan have one that is already cooked. So let's take a look at their Wellingtons before we move to slicing and plating.
Okay, I guess I'm up first.
You're up next.
This is my beef Wellington. You can see, you can still see the 3 holes, and you know, like kind of the lines created by cutting through the dough. I'm quite happy with how this turned out. Like the top color is exactly right. Perhaps the side could use a little bit more egg wash, whatnot, but you know, we'll see how it goes. All right. So
and you, Dan?
Okay, everyone. Here is the finished product. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. So here is my beef Wellington with lettuce on top of the outer shell.
Alex, could you show us how you slice and plate your Wellington? What are we looking for? And what makes your plating unique?
As you're like mid-act, I'm trying to separate the Wellington. Okay. Well,
we have some in-action plating here, everybody.
We have some kitchen emergency.
Some right? Behind-the-scenes struggles.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess talk and struggle at the same time. The tricky part about slicing a beef Wellington is that it's actually both a pastry dough as well as a meat. And as we all know, like a serrated knife is best for using to slice a, but it's not so good cutting through beef. So what I'm doing is, can you zoom on me, please? I have 2 knives. One is a serrated knife and one is a long, sharp knife. So back to the chopping board. So, okay. If you can zoom in, please. Let's hope this turns out. So I'm first going to just slice with the serrated knife, kind of cut through the pastry, right? You can kind of feel where the meat is. And then I switch to the sharp knife, and just in one clean stroke, well, maybe 2. Okay, I'm nervous. Oh, not bad.
That looks amazing, Alex. Looks really delicious. So we're going to transition to Dan. How do you plate your Wellington, Dan?
Not plating yet. I need to confront the moment of truth first. So yeah, absolutely agree with Alex. You need a very super sharp knife. And I just want to say, those of us in California, we're very practical. So instead of using 2 different knives, I'm just gonna go with the sharpest knife I could find. So I actually bought this. It's brand new. It's a sushi knife, and I'm using it for the first time tonight. So so I'm gonna cut through my Wellington, and I'm gonna say my prayers right now. Okay, here we go. Do you see it?
Yes, it looks amazing. I could even hear, does everyone agree? You could hear the crisp of the crust while Dan was cutting into the Wellington, and just more of the vibrant color of the meat.
Yeah, so I think I just want to add, having the knife is so important. When I was practicing, I have this, I thought my older knives was I actually sharpen once a month was sharp enough, but during practice, the outer crust totally crumbled. So I'm very happy that this has turned out okay.
Yes, it looks great. I say, from what it sounds like a good investment for a sharp knife.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're on to plating.
So I mean, Alex should go first.
Sorry, Irene, I was on mute. I was too busy, cutting the Wellington. Okay, so since I actually have some very special guests here in the house tonight, so I decided to play my Wellington not as a individual dish, or rather individual plate, but rather as a family style to be shared. Okay, so it's sort of a representation of the holiday season and the joyfulness that we share. Sorry, I'm very sorry for being a little frazzled.
That looks amazing, Alex. I hope we're all invited to your next holiday gathering, so you could share this delicious dish with us.
Right, and then just sort of last minute touches, I'm putting some locally grown greens on top. Also, courtesy of Mary, we have some slices of pear from the Lishan region. I always believe in having beef with some fruit. So lastly, what's a holiday without some red and green? So festive strawberries may not be the most aesthetically creative plating, but I think it should bring a smile to everyone's face. Thank you. Irene.
Thank you, Alex. I love the composition there, and it's a well-balanced meal. I could see that. And Dan, we could transition to how you would plate beef Wellington.
Yeah, absolutely. A little frazzled here. So for plating, I'm going to introduce 2 additional winter vegetables. They both start with a B. The first is beets. I'm actually going to serve beets in a puree form. This puree is actually infused with rosemary from my garden. And the second is Brussels sprouts. I also have some mushrooms. So I already put the puree on the and as well as the Wellington on the plate. So I'm just going to finish plating it.
Dan, a question. What led you to choose those vegetables to be paired with the beef Wellington?
Honestly, it's about the color. So I was looking for only because of the competition. So I was looking for some red, some green, and some yellow. So here. So this is my response to Alex's family style plate, but here is the individual, I don't know if I can do this right, individual plate.
That looks great. Would everyone agree, Alex and Dan? This is a tough competition, I'd say.
Hey, sorry, Irene, I'm not finished yet. After seeing that, I have one more thing to add, just like Steve Jobs. Okay.
Oh, we have a secret weapon from Alex.
Well, okay. Maybe not so secret. Maybe not so secret. Because, or rather, just I forgot. Is that I prepared a traditional au jus, which basically just means with juice in French, and it's made with trimmings from the tenderloin and some onion and other mushrooms. So it's a classical juice that I think people are going to love. And if I may, too bad we can't do slow motions here, huh?
You
Voila.
will also be sharing the sauce, the recipe for the sauce too, right, Alex?
Of course, if you have
Yes.
like a way to do it, it's very easy, but you know, it just takes time. Like all good things in life.
As I say, this is a tough competition, everybody, but okay, the moment we have been waiting for. Before we move to vote, does the audience have any questions? We may have time for one question to be answered, so please do have put your questions in the Q&A box. So Alex, what was the inspiration in terms of your plating, as you mentioned?
My inspiration is kind of like a winter wonderland in a very sort of dark place because it's black background. But I do want to have just kind of a bit of everything on the plate, maybe so that people can just reach in and grab whatever they want. That's kind of my thinking behind it.
I love that. I love that it's inspired by the season. And Dan, going back to you in terms of
my inspiration is, frankly speaking, it's Christmas, and it's the colors of Christmas. It's the colors of Christmas trees. It's the green and what goes on the trees, and all these festive holiday season colors.
Okay. And one more question for both of you from Alex Hsu. What is the best way to reheat the beef Wellington? Say after a party, and how long can we keep it? Like say a few days?
Dan, do you want to take that, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'll take it first. So I think beef is just my opinion. It's actually one of the safest meats. It's not like chicken. It's not, the risk for, food poisoning is relatively low. Now, the issue though is that if you're let's say I'm putting this piece into the fridge, then overnight, the entire thing, the temperature is going to drop to, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, right? So I wouldn't reheat it. Next morning, I would take it out, and I would actually allow the meat to kind of return to its original sort of level of cookedness. Because I think if you could put it in the oven a little bit if you want. If you microwave it, I would not recommend that.
Yeah, I would agree with Dan that microwave is definitely a no-no. But I have been asked the same question many times, and then my initial answer was always just finish it. Beef is not meant to be in overnight. But yeah, the questions persist. So I reached back to kind of sort of the early days, and then what I was taught was that the best way is to heat it up in a very low temperature oven, maybe around 70 degrees Celsius. I think that's around 170 Fahrenheit, and just let it return to sort of eating temperature, because our sort of palate usually likes food to be around 50 to 60 degrees Celsius. And if you just let 70 degrees to gently heat the meat, you're not overcooking it, but yet you're still warming it up. That being said, you're still faced with the potential risk of contamination, because the food is already cooked and then you don't know what it's touched or come in contact in the fridge.
Okay, so one very quick question, if you could provide a quick answer for this. If there's a preference to have the dish well done, because people may not have the preference to have it rare, what are things to look for in terms of not overcooking if someone has a preference of having it well done?
Okay, let me take a stab at that. If you go back to the video, we actually didn't really pre-cook the meat. We just seared it. And then that's what allows the puff pastry and the meat to be cooked to the desired temperature at the same time. If you want your meat well done, what you can do is kind of pre-cook it to say medium rare, put it in an oven for 15 minutes, and then wrap it and then put put it in the oven. That way, when it comes out, it will be closer to the level of doneness that you wish.
Yeah, so if I can kind of chime in, I would highly discourage people for trying to eat a piece that's well done. I mean, if they like, they could probably, you know, I can cut like the outer side and have them, which is more cooked than the inside. And the reason is, I mean, there's a reason that this cut is called a tenderloin. I mean, this is the most tender part of the beef, of the cow, right? So by cooking it well done, you're gonna lose the ability to kind of eat a piece of super tender meat, right? And in this case, it's actually dried aged, so it's even more sort of flavorful and tender. Yeah, I just, you know, it's really hard, but I think the analogy I would draw is it's kind of like going to Laurie's and eating a piece of prime rib, right? I mean, whoever wants to eat well done ends up just eating the end pieces.
So thank you, Alex and Dan, for answering our audience's questions. And now we will see who has a winning beef Wellington. Audience, please vote for your favorite entry. You have 15 seconds. And also please consider the categories that we mentioned. Technique, giving explanations, plating, and use of ingredients. We'll give you a little bit more time. All right, everybody, thank you for your input. I'm sure Alex and Dan will be much appreciated on everyone's vote. And the winner we have is Dan.
Oh my God. That is tight. Oh my God.
I would like to introduce Johnny Hsu. Johnny is the newly elected president of the Taiwan Club and will be passing a prize. Dan, do you have any lasting words?
Hey, Johnny, got it. Thank you. Thank you for the virtual trophy. You know, look, this is it's a friendly competition, and I have a confession to make. So I was frantically trying to make things work today. I also spent the whole day just trying to make this. And half an hour before the show started, I called Alex asking for tips because I didn't want my beef to go to be overcooked, but I was very thankful that Alex helped me out last minute, and so thank you, Alex. This win is actually yours.
No, you're very, very welcome. You deserve the win. Your beef Wellington looks really nice, and I'm quite jealous of that lattice cutter. Maybe I'll get one myself.
Dan, you have to put in a link where we could purchase that lattice cutter. That may be the key to our beef Wellington.
Look it up. It's on Amazon.
Amazon. Let's support small businesses too.
Thank you, Irene. That was some fancy cooking. Congratulations to our chefs. This marks the end of the competition. Thank you all for participating in our Lion Chef Challenge and taking the time to watch the show and voting. And a big thank you to our chefs for working so hard to perfect their dishes and creating the videos. We will also be running interactive cooking sessions with CAA Brooklyn, India, Mexico, and ACAA over the next few months. And if anyone has any questions to the chefs, please stick around, or if anyone would like to socialize afterwards, please click on the Zoom link in the chat box to move to the after party session. Thank you on behalf of CAA, and we would like to wish you everyone a healthy and happy holiday. Bye-bye.